Today, we're going to dive into a plan that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a science fiction novel, but it's actually being engineered as we speak. We're talking about powering the next generation of AI by building its home in space.
So, I want to start with just this one number. 245 square kilometers. Just let that sink in for a minute. What on Earth, or maybe what off of Earth, could possibly require a footprint that massive?
You got it? That's not a city, it's not some national park. That is the sheer surface area of solar panels we would need in orbit to collect enough energy to feed AI's absolutely insatiable appetite for power. And to really help you wrap your head around that abstract number, just imagine the entire island of Manhattan. Now picture 4 of them side by side, completely covered in solar panels, just floating up there in space. Or think of it as one single, colossal square in the sky, nearly 10 miles long on each side. I mean, that's the kind of scale we're talking about here. It's huge.
Okay, so this brings us to the really big question. Why on Earth would we ever need to build something so enormous? Well, the answer is a problem that's growing right here on the ground. It's a fundamental bottleneck for our entire technological future.
Here it is, the heart of the issue. You see, AI's energy demand isn't just growing, it's growing exponentially. We're talking a 100-fold increase. But our planet's power grids? They're not. So we are on a direct collision course between our digital ambition and our physical limits.
This chart just says it all, doesn't it? You can see the projected demand for AI just skyrocketing, while our terrestrial grid capacity, well, it's pretty much flatlining. That massive, widening gap between the two, that's the whole problem. We simply can't build power plants and batteries on Earth fast enough to feed the machine that we're creating.
So, if our own planet is becoming too small to host AI's future, the solution is as radical as it is logical. We have to look up. Let's really dig into what it means to take all this computing off-planet.
The one resource that makes all of this possible is something called the solar constant. See, once you get outside our atmosphere, space is just flooded with a constant, powerful, unfiltered stream of solar energy. It's a source that never gets shut off by clouds or weather or, night.
The goal here is to harness all that raw energy to generate 100 gigawatts of power, all of it dedicated to AI. Now, to put that number in perspective, that is roughly the same power output as 100, yes, 100 large, modern nuclear reactors all running at full capacity.
But wait a minute, even in space, right? Doesn't a satellite spend half its time in the Earth's shadow? So how could you possibly power a data center that needs to be on 24/7 if it's going to be plunged into total darkness for 45 minutes out of every 90-minute orbit?
And this is where orbital mechanics gets incredibly clever. You see, in a standard orbit, you're absolutely right. You'd need massive, heavy batteries just to survive the night. But there's a special path. It's called a Sun-Synchronous Orbit, and it completely changes the game. It gives you 100% continuous sunlight. No batteries needed. It is perfect for a 24/7 data center.
This right here is the key. A Sun-Synchronous Orbit, specifically what's called a dawn-dusk orbit, lets a satellite fly along the terminator, that beautiful line that separates day from night on Earth. By literally riding that line, the satellite is always, and I mean always, bathed in sunlight. It never once passes into the planet's shadow. So how is that even possible? Well, it turns out we can use a little quirk of our own planet. Earth isn't a perfect sphere, right? It bulges a little at the equator. This bulge creates a gravitational pull that gently twists a satellite's orbit. If you get it at just the right altitude and angle, that twist perfectly matches the rate that the Earth travels around the Sun. And the result? You get an orbit that's basically locked in place relative to the Sun. It's brilliant.
Okay, so we've solved the always-on energy problem. But now we face an even bigger one. Mass. How in the world do we get millions of tons of solar panels and computer hardware into orbit? Launching all of that from Earth is incredibly expensive and inefficient. It's a problem known as the tyranny of the rocket equation.
This is the fundamental trap of all space travel. Most of a rocket's weight is just the fuel it needs to lift its own fuel. It is a vicious cycle that makes launching anything on this kind of massive scale from Earth basically impossible from an economic standpoint. To build our solar city, we have to find a way to break this cycle. So the proposed solution is pretty wild. Just stop launching from Earth altogether. Instead, we build our factory on the moon and use an electromagnetic railgun. See, unlike a rocket, a railgun uses electricity, which is everywhere on the moon, thanks to solar power, to just fling a payload into space. It completely sidesteps the whole fuel problem.
And it turns out, the moon is the perfect place for this whole operation. It has no atmosphere, so you can launch things at super high speeds without them burning up. Its gravity is just 1/6 of Earth's, so it takes way less energy to get into space. And best of all, the raw materials for solar panels and computer chips, we're talking silicon and aluminum, they're all over the place in the lunar soil. That synergy is really what makes the whole plan work. You build on the moon, you launch for nearly free, and you power it all from a perfect orbit.
So what does all of this add up to? I mean, this isn't just about building a bigger data center. This is about laying the foundation for a completely new phase of human civilization. It's a future that's outlined on what's called the Kardashev 2 roadmap.
The plan really unfolds in stages. First, we establish that solar-powered AI grid in Earth orbit. Second, we build the lunar industrial complex to manufacture and launch all the components. And the ultimate goal? A solar system-wide grid, a network that could generate truly unimaginable amounts of computational power.
And this ties directly into something called the Kardashev scale, which is a way of measuring a civilization's maturity by how much energy it can use. So a Type I civilization uses the energy of its planet. A Type II harnesses the total energy output of its star. What this means is that this entire project isn't just about AI. It's the first practical, engineered blueprint for humanity to actually begin the transition to becoming a Type II civilization.
So what we're really talking about here is a plan to transform the empty space around Earth into a productive, inhabited, industrial, and computational shell. It is, quite literally, the blueprint for building a supercomputer powered by our own sun.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final profound question. If the growth of intelligence is really only limited by the energy it can get its hands on, is a future like this not just possible, but maybe inevitable? Is building a supercomputer around our star our species' ultimate destiny?